Always some great insight there from Dr. Bitzer. A lot of we go to him for a lot, so always great to hear from him. Also, I want to point out Scott Huffman is another guy that we go to out of Winthrop.
We'll hear from him tomorrow.
Hear from him tomorrow. Yes, that's I forgot. Right. The calendar's been so busy. We have a lot to cover. We want to continue this discussion on the government shutdown. Day 36 of the government shutdown. Millions of people are impacted. We have Megan Bragg here in studio. It's been a while since we had you here in studio.
I know, you guys, but I'm happy to be here. Happy to be with you.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. So you were tracking the numbers, right? Mm-hmm. So we were all working in the business when the first, I guess the record was initially set back in 2018.
2018.
I say this because when we think about a record when it comes to the government shutdown, you think about, this is before my time. But it's just some recent memory.
Right. Mm-hmm. And I think that the government has been, if I have my date right, it's the 1970s, but 1976, I think, is when they implemented this budgetary process and shutdown and all of that stuff. So it all dates back to then. But like you were saying, Nick, 2018, it was December 2018, January 2019 was the longest one. That was 35 days. And so we kind of wanted to look in and compare the two for today and see, what the difficulties were back then, what it cost us back then and to now. So lots of numbers I'm going to throw at you.
I love the numbers. I love it.
That's what I'm in the business of, is verifying numbers and all that fun stuff. Okay, so let's talk about 2018 to 2019. December to January, that was 35 days long. That was during the Trump administration as well. Now, the disagreement was about the border. If you can remember, President Trump wanted more funding to build the southern border. Democrats were not about that. And so that was kind of the issue with that spending bill, is more money into that. So that shutdown cost around $3 billion GDP, which is gross domestic products, meaning how our overall, economy is. So they suspect that it was an estimated $3 billion. So it affected 800,000 federal workers, 380,000 were furloughed, and then 420 worked without getting paid. Wow. So that was 2018. 2019, now the interesting thing was SNAP at that time was still in place and being funded. However, there were larger gaps between the funding, but the USDA did get contingency funds to fund SNAP back then. Now, looking here, what's the issue here? It's all about affordable health care, that Obamacare.
Those premiums.
Those premiums. That runs out at the end of this year. So really what it is Democrats want a discussion of how are we going to keep this going? Those premiums going to be higher, whatever. Republicans are kind of like, you know what, we'll talk about it after. Let's just get a spending bill in place. So that seems to be the disagreement this time around. And right now there are 750 workers on unpaid leave. So a lot more than the last one, and SNAP is not, as we know, not being funded at this point. So some differences overall, kind of, the same thing of Democrats, Republicans really not getting along, pointing the finger at each other. I mean, if you've been listening to any coverage, you'll hear it's the Democrats' fault or it's Republicans' fault.
We listen to it every day.
And it's just like, at some point,
it's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. And like, when do we come together? But so that is what is going on with the two and the different differences. Now, what's interesting about this, though, is that if we go back to the presidencies, Ronald Reagan
before our time.
This is before our time. Ronald Reagan had 8 separate times that there was government lapse in spending. So 8 times, yes. Wow. But the longest was only 3 days. So it's not like it was a month or anything like that. It was 3 days, but still 8 times. He's the one with the most times that the government has been obviously not funded. However, President Trump has had the longest now with 36 days, but only twice.
He set the record and broke the record.
Yes.
Man, wow. And it seems like a lifetime ago. I was working in Atlanta when the last I guess the one before this one that was the actual record for the longest shutdown was set back in 2018, 2019.
Right.
And yeah, this one just feels a little bit more like an agreement is, not as close as the one before.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm trying to articulate it in the best way. But
yeah, there's still, I mean, as it seems, a very standstill. I mean, no one's budging, right?
Yeah.
And I guess too, like you just think about all these, federal workers, and I keep thinking about them and people on SNAP and people who need benefits, and really it's just, so many people are in limbo right now, and I'm sure I felt that way the last shutdown too. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure we all did. But, years go by and you don't remember quite the last one.
Yeah.
And so...
and we had a pandemic in between
I
that
know.
too.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. So it's just, wow, like lots going on. But that is the two differences between both of them. And it's just very interesting to look at. Yeah.
Interesting to see coming off of this election.
Yep.
Where we have a lot of those key in those big races, those key races from Virginia to California to New York City.
New York City, yeah. That was a big one last
big
night.
Democrat sweep there in those races. So we'll see how that impacts the shutdown.
Yep,
moving
absolutely.
Forward. I always ask this question, Meg, when can folks...
6:15.
Yeah, before I could even ask.
See, I'm ready for you now.
Look, I'm not trying to stump Meg at all. I'm not trying to stump Meg. Really interesting insight on the government shutdown now / what has happened in the past. Meg, thank you as always.
Thank you.
I haven't said this in a long time, but get a little smarter when we have Meg. When Meg comes in, I mean that seriously. Shout out to Verify. Shout out to the work her and Michaela do on Verify. So, okay, let's take a quick break. Carlene gave me the signal. This is the signal. So we're going to take a 2-minute break. We'll be back here again in 2 minutes here on Live.